depending on how big the company is, he might need a pro to access those files because
Well,
Home is the only edition that won't allow that. I mean, at least that's what the book said.
I'm in complete agreement with that one. I would have answered pro on that one.
All
Because
right.
work, I'm assuming he has a domain to log into. If he has a domain to log into, he's going to need pro or enterprise. The only
Exactly.
problem with that, if you take the kind of the psychology of just the testing part of it rather than the real world part,
Right.
pro and enterprise do the same thing. So I always say eliminate them if you got two that do the same thing as answers.
Right.
A
The pro,
plus.
I would just go with pro. Really, I mean, that would be. Unless unless you
My,
find out, hey, they got an enterprise account. You know, the company's providing them with all the stuff. You know. So,
yeah, but my logic is there that pro and enterprise both join the domain. So they're
right.
both pretty much the same. One of them just mainly the main difference is the way you license it, the way you pay for it.
Exactly. Yes.
So if this were an A plus exam, I would throw those two answers out, even if I thought one of them was good, because I just know what the way tests work. You know, the way the tests
Okay.
work. If you've got two that kind of duplicate and you only have one possible answer, then how can you choose one over the other?
Right. Gotcha.
I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't want to get into that's what I would do in the real world. In the real world, I would choose pro or enterprise for the user because I would probably have a domain. If at work it were a tiny little work network and you didn't have a server, so you didn't have a domain, then home would work fine. And Sean's
Right.
point is on these questions, maybe what they're looking for is just what is the cheapest.
That was another thing that though I still haven't got to a part where I've ever used active domain, and I forgot that you can't do that with Windows Home. I was thinking that it was you could do that with Windows Home. But.
That is the main feature of the Pro and Enterprise over the Home Edition. The main thing on the Home Edition is that nobody's going to join a domain with the home version typically. The only time you run into that,
right?
The only time you run into that is if the person buying for your school or your business, excuse me, buys a whole bunch of computers with the home and doesn't realize that they should have bought the pro version, which I run into a lot. You know.
This makes me feel better about the test that I just took because there was like 3 questions where I was like, I'm pretty sure that's an ambiguous wording, and so I'll bring that up later. I'm gonna send you an email.
Okay, Sean, we'll go over those in a minute, okay? I think everybody...
Well, I don't have them. Oh, I can go get them. I have them on my phone. I took a picture of them, but if we don't have to do that during class, we can do that later.
Well, I think everybody will want to watch that. So if you want to do it...
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Whenever you get them, we'll talk about that. Mm-hmm. So who just joined?
I did.
Robert. Robert, how are you doing?
Good, and yourself?
This is Robert Martinez, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. We had another Robert for her. Now I got to keep track. Robert, you don't put in the last name, so it just confuses me a little bit.
Oh, sorry. I have a different account, that's why.
No, that's fine. I'll just remember which well, I think you're the only Robert now. So that's fine. Sean, you're the only Sean I can remember, Sean.
I think the one way I figured out that question that Jonathan had an issue with was the fact that home was mentioned, and that made me go, okay, he's at home mainly with it, so Windows Home, you know, and how joining the company was secondary to his needs.
Yeah,
but I thought Pro too at first.
That's fine. That's fine, but I mean, you got to think more from a technology point of view. Even if he's at work for just 1% of the time, if he needs to get into which could be true of a traveling salesman, somebody's traveling the world and every, one day a year they pop into the company and they have to get into the server or maybe refresh the data on their laptop or something like that. Even if 1% of the time they needed to get into the domain, home wouldn't do the job. So yeah, I like your logic there, but keep in mind, think in terms of more of a techie kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I did, because at first I was like, oh, Pro, obviously that's the obvious choice, but then I was like, hold on, then I went back and read some more and I was like, I don't know.
Yeah,
so I kind of just 50-50 gambled on it, to be honest.
I'm not sure what they're thinking on that thing. You have to make a lot of assumption. You kind of have to assume that they don't have a server in the work environment.
I was thinking maybe his company is him and 3 other people or something.
Yeah, well, exactly. Then it would work.
If it's a small office, then it's home. If it's a
Soho.
small office.
Yeah, if it's
But
a,
if it's a big company, so it didn't make any specification on that. So that's why I guess I had a confusion on it.
if it's kind of a BYOD kind of environment where you bring
Right.
your own device, then
Exactly. Then home would be fine for that. But
Well, the key,
I'm thinking he's working for like a Fortune 50 company, a big corporation.
the key point of the question is that he's only going to be connecting to his company's Wi-Fi network. So he really only needs
Right.
Wi-Fi capability. So
Yeah, but-
home
yeah,
would
but-
provide that.
But Derek, you can connect to a server through Wi-Fi nowadays. In fact, that's going to become more and more common. If you have traveling salesmen, people that are using laptops, they don't want to plug into a wire anywhere. Why should they? If you have Wi-Fi coverage throughout your building, so it actually doesn't matter. We can even have,
But he's only
you can even have pro versions on a Wi-Fi network.
he's only connecting to the company network via Wi-Fi to share files over the network.
Right, but what
Yeah,
if
I
you
didn't,
want to share them?
I didn't think about that. It just said Wi-Fi. I was thinking that he needed to connect through. I don't remember if it said that in the question, but did he actually need to? Did it ever say if he needed to connect from home to his office? Because if it's through Wi-Fi, he's probably at his office, right? Which
Right.
means that Windows Home would be fine.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I understand that, but I just want to clarify that's not 100% true. You
But
can
this
still
is
go
the
through
minimum
Wi-Fi in your
required.
company to connect to your server. But I think you're right. The fact that the Wi-Fi, they're kind of assuming that you're just kind of in a work group aside at work. But that can be a little misleading. I don't want to mislead everybody.
It's like just using a guest account at the corporation via
No,
Wi-Fi.
I mean, there's at work, there's no difference from plugging an Ethernet cable in and going to the server than going through Wi-Fi to the server if both of them are on the same subnet.
I understand. I understand.
Okay. All right. That's a little more advanced, Jonathan.
I agree with you, Brian, that I would use Windows Pro or Enterprise in this regard, but
Yeah.
because it makes better sense and it gives you more flexibility. You don't have any limitations.
You know how I hate it when I'm working with people or something and I realize I have a home version when I want to go set up users and groups and things like that. And that knowledge not there. I'm a little biased.
Good reason to be.
That's right. It gets a little annoying when all of a sudden the ability to create groups and users is restricted in the home version.
Yeah.
Sean, do you have those questions or not?
Yeah. So what I did was I recorded them instead of taking a picture because I wanted to tell myself why I thought it was wrong. I put it in a video, so I'm trying to listen to the video to remember. But I do have one of them, and let me get it.
Okay, so let me share the screen. Let me just welcome Mike. Mike, I hope I didn't keep you waiting.
Morning. I apologize.
Morning. Okay, Sean's got a few questions that we're going to look at if we can find them. So let me share the screen. That's chapter 6, right? Hopefully I can still hear everyone. Let me get rid of that. Let me bring up the canvas. Okay, let me bring up the modules.
What are you looking at? Chapter 6 questions?
Yeah, we're going to look at chapter 6 questions to find it.
Yeah, just when I take the test, there was a couple of problems. A couple of questions that I had on they kind of seemed ambiguous.
Okay, so let's take a look for that. Chapter 6 right here.
Oh, I haven't done that then.
You haven't done that. Okay,
Maybe I have.
close your eyes and all right, so let's take a look. How does the question start?
Starts with a guy named Tom.
Starts with a guy named Tom. Okay. It's Tom this time. It's Tom's fault.
It's always Tom's fault.
There's Henry, Eric.
Henry.
Okay, I don't see Tom.
Okay. Well,
Read the first sentence in the question and I'll.
uh,
Oh, you're in core 1, right? Not core 2. Sorry.
no, I'm on course.
Oh, you're in core 2?
So maybe I'm on there. It's today you turned on your computer after being on vacation for work.
Okay, what is the first sentence in the question?
It says today you turned on your computer after being on vacation for work.
Okay. Oh, there you go. Okay, question 6 on mine. Today you turned on your computer after being on vacation for a week. You see spinning white dots on a black screen. You decide that an update might be installing, so you allow the computer to work for approximately 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, you turn on the computer and then restart it, and it fails 2 more times. What tool should you use to help repair the computer?
So the answer is safe mode. But the reason I put startup repair is there's a. Give me one second.
Yeah, I don't think it would be safe mode. I think it would be startup repair. I think you're right.
And if you go to page, I can't, it's blurry right now, I can't get it. But there's a, in the book that I went to, and it said, verbatim, it said the first thing you do when you're having an issue with startup is to use startup repair. So I was like, okay, it says right there, that's the number one thing to do. And so I chose it.
Well, the startup repair is more of a dramatic repair than going to safe mode.
So
I can understand if you could go to safe mode, I would go to safe mode first.
So
but
is
the problem,
it dramatic?
What?
Because the book says that it's very invasive. So it's a very easy, or it's one of the first things to do because there's not many things to screw up doing that way.
Yeah, but it takes a long time usually.
For me, I wouldn't even use it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't like the startup repair unless I really have to use it because it seems to be like a last resort. Where the safe mode is the safe mode you do if you have a driver issue. So if you get into Windows and then you have problems, you will use your safe mode. For example, a common one is, let's say the screen is all messed up because the video driver is the wrong driver. Well, obviously you couldn't, even though you're in Windows, you couldn't do anything because you can't see anything on the screen. The way to fix that is to go to safe mode. The safe mode will load the old VGA driver, which will work with anything. So even though you're in a low resolution mode now, you can go in and now uninstall the corrupt video driver. So that's what safe mode is useful for. Repair, if you couldn't get in at all, like you're having the problem here, then you would go into repair mode. So yeah, I can give you credit for that one, Sean.
Well, then if you look down to questions, and I'm sorry, I think that's my audio. I don't know. Is that just me?
I think you got a little bit of an echo. I hear a little bit of an echo, yeah.
I'll restart after this question. I apologize.
Okay.
So on question 7.
Okay, so are we in agreement? Is everybody on agreement on, well, I may be a little bit, you may be a little bit ahead for most people, but anybody that's this far in the program, do you agree that you would use startup repair? Derek?
You start up repair, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, and would you agree that safe mode probably wouldn't work for this particular situation?
Yes, I would.
Okay. And SFC, same thing. We'd have to get into Windows before we could run the system file checker.
I think startup repair is the ideal tool for this kind of a situation.
Yeah, and then the last one, use BIOS to see if the hard drive is available. Well, the hard drive is available because it's trying to do its thing. The fact that you're getting the little spinning dots means it's loading Windows. It's just not completing the completely loading Windows.
Exactly.
So we can get rid of the BIOS one, because that one, if that were true, you would boot up and you get no operating system found because it wouldn't find the hard drive and the hard drive has the operating system, right?
Right.
So again, SFC you have to boot into Windows to run the system file checker. So we're not able to get into Windows, so we can't run that. And safe mode, again, we need safe mode to get into Windows. Usually you could get into Windows, but you'd have an issue once you get into Windows if you need safe mode. So typically, if you can only get this far along, you actually need to do a repair on your computer. All right, Sean, now we've got that one out. Hopefully we got that one clear with everyone. Let's go to number 7. Windows 10 Professional will not boot on Jackson's computer. During the boot process, the computer fails. While troubleshooting, Jackson determines that the graphical user interface did not load. Which file in the boot process is responsible for loading the graphical user interface and starting the client-server runtime subsystem? Okay, which one is it? I don't remember.
Okay, so on this one, it's a little confusing on the.
Derek, do you have the answer to this one?
SMSS.exe.
So that is, but the question, and half of the question kind of makes me think that, and then half of the question makes me think CSRSS, because that's the graphical unit user interface one, right? So the reason I put it is because SMSS starts CSRSS, so that's half the question. It does start that subsystem, but the other one that it starts is that responsible for the graphical user interface. At least the book says that on page 320.
Right.
And I'm sorry if that's also confusing.
Yeah, well, it's not your fault. It's just the complexity of the load systems within Windows now. So Derek, what was your reasoning for going with that? Remember?
Because that's what it says to do in the book.
Okay.
But like I said, if you go to page 320 under CSRSS, it says
Okay, I'm going to go to 320.
Okay. It says that it manages the graphical components. And as far as I know, it's the only place that it talks about graphical components being loaded when it talks about the load process. Sorry for that.
Okay. Okay, the SMSS Sessions Manager program responsible for starting user sessions, and the CSRSS Windows subsystem manages graphical components and threads. Which one were they saying was the acceptable?
I can't read the question. It's all blurry right now.
Oh, let me refresh the screen. Can you read it now?
No, it's still blurry.
Still blurry.
If you just want to maybe reread it.
Okay, let me reread it again. Windows 10 Professional will not boot on Jackson's computer. During the boot process, so this is important, during the boot process, the computer fails. While troubleshooting, Jackson determines that the graphical user interface did not load. Which file in the boot process is responsible for loading the graphical user interface and starting the client-server runtime subsystem?
And
Okay, they
I'm
kind of
sure
throw two things
it's
together.
right. I just don't see where it talks about the graphical user interface in the book, except for
On page, it's on page 320, and it says that SMSS.exe found in C Windows System 32 it is a session manager program responsible for starting user sessions.
What page?
yes, starting user sessions. That's half the question, because it does start the sessions, and it starts the client server subsystem, which is what the question is. So yes, that's correct. But the other part, and that's I wish I would have read that part first and kind of noticed that, but I went off the second part when it talks about the graphical user interface.
Okay, does the flow chart show which one loads first? I'm looking at the flow chart here and it doesn't really show. I think it would matter on which one loaded first.
Well, that one loads first, and then the CSRSS.exe that manages the graphic components and threads.
Yeah, I would go with whichever one loads first. I'm looking through the flow chart and
No, I understand that. And that's what I'm getting at, is that I understand that's the right question. I just want to know maybe where I went wrong, where it's talking about the graphical user interface, because that's the next subsystem.
okay, I think the answer would be which of the two systems fails first, and the rest of them is like kind of like, so what? You got to fix the first one fails, and then fix the next one.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. So
if you ever look at if you ever look like a Windows boot log, you know, if you have a problem booting and you get a boot log, you're going to look for the very first thing that fails and fix that, even if something failed. You know, because a lot of times the things that fail later are a cascading effect. They only fail because the first thing failed.
Okay, so
all your dependencies,
is that responsible for the loading the graphical user interface?
Well, I'm looking at page 322, the end of the flow sheet, the end of the flow chart. There's a flow chart on 321 and 322, and if you look at the second part of the flow chart on 322, you'll see that number 5 on there says Start System Manager. So you want to see if the graphics is below that.
It is. It's in number 2 in the orange.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So it's dependent on the session manager to load in order to load it.
Right.
So my reasoning would be look for the first thing that fails. And like I said, whenever you go and look at boot logs and things like that, always look for the first thing that failed, because the other ones are oftentimes dependencies, and the only reason they fail is because they were dependent on the first thing loading. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It all makes sense. I get it.
Okay. Yeah, but that's common, like with DLLs and things like that. If something fails to load, you know, I'm dealing with yesterday and today .NET framework on an application, and if the .NET framework doesn't load, then the application obviously crashes. So yeah, look at dependencies. Okay, hopefully we've beaten that. Yeah, that one's a little abstract, but I mean,
kind of. Can I ask a question on another one, but it'll be real quick?
Sure.
So I have the one that talks about Zach wants to install Windows 10.
Yeah, what Zach wants to install Windows 10 over his existing copy of Windows 10. He wants to keep his personal files, apps, and Windows settings. He currently has a USB drive with Windows 10 Pro ISO. Okay.
Okay, there we go. The only question I have on that is, isn't a custom installation and an in-place the same?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I think I read that one wrong, actually.
What were they looking for? What were they looking for as far as the?
I think they were looking for repair upgrade. Actually, I thought it was the wrong answer.
Yeah. Okay.
But either way, for clarification, a custom installation in the book is the same as an in place. So maybe that's what it doesn't matter. It threw me off.
Well, here's the thing on that. If two answers are the same, then you can usually throw them out. Like, because when you get into the A+ exams, if you see two answers.
Before I started asking the question, I thought it chose one of those questions. And then I started reading it and I realized that I read it wrong. And that it was just another answer. So I apologize.
Yeah. Now, when he does it with an ISO, and I'm going to go over this a little bit. He's got to mount the ISO in a running version of Windows 10. Otherwise, he has to make a bootable USB drive. All right. Okay, with that being said, that gives me a segue into showing you a video on how to make a bootable flash drive. Okay, so this, so we finished with the questions?
Yeah.
Okay, so does anybody know how to make a Windows 10 bootable flash drive?
You talking about it's a media creation tool?
That would be one way, yeah.
Oh, that's the way I used.
Okay, all right. And the other way would be to use, have you used any third-party applications?
I've used Etcher before to get Linux boot sticks.
Okay, you use Etcher?
And Rufus.
Okay, okay, so this one goes through the media creation tool and Rufus. Okay, so I'm gonna play this, and then after this is done, we will do our break, and then we'll talk, and then I'll demo how we make one after our break, okay?
Hi guys, this is Jude from EasyTex. In this quick tutorial, I'll be showing you how to create a Windows 10 bootable USB flash drive. There are two common ways to do this. The first method is to directly use the media creation tool from Microsoft, in which case all you would need is a USB stick, 16 gig or larger, and an internet connection. The faster the better. The second method is to use a third-party application to create your Windows 10 bootable USB. In that case, you will need a Windows 10 ISO file, which you can download for free. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. A USB stick, and of course the third-party application. There are several third-party applications out there you can choose from. Here I'll be using Rufus. I find it quite easy to use. It has great reviews, and of course it's free. But before we proceed, if you are yet to subscribe, take a moment and hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so as to keep up with future tech support videos like this one. And now, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Okay, so for the first method, I'll be using the Microsoft Media Creation tool. You can get that directly from Microsoft website. Simply go to Google and search, download Windows 10. Click on the first result from Microsoft. I'll leave a direct link to this download page down in the video description. On this page, click on download the tool now, and the Windows 10 Media Creation tool will download shortly. It's just about 18 megabytes in size, so it should download pretty fast. After downloading, run the tool by double-clicking. Accept the license terms. Now here the default option is to upgrade this PC now, but you want to select create installation media for another PC. But first insert your USB flash stick. Before that, you should ensure you back up the files on your USB stick, because the media creation tool will automatically delete the files on your USB during the creation process. As you can see here, I have no files on my USB stick, so I'm good to go. Here I will select create installation media for another PC and click next. On this page, you have to select the language, architecture, and edition of Windows 10 you wish to have. By default, I have English US as the language, Windows 10 edition, and then 64-bit architecture as the recommended options. Now you want to change these configurations to match your PC specifications. So first uncheck use recommended options for this PC. Only then will you be able to change these default settings. For the language, I will leave mine as English US. Edition, of course, is Windows 10. Then on the architecture, there are three options: 32-bit, 64-bit, and both. If you already know the architecture of the PC you will be installing your Windows 10 on, then you can select it here. But if you don't, or if you have multiple PCs you wish to install Windows 10 with both 32 and 64-bit, then your best bet is to select the both option. That way you won't need to create multiple installation media. However, this will require more storage space on your USB, somewhere around 8 GB or more. So if you want to run with this option, then it's better to use a 16 gig USB to avoid any errors. But if you want to go with the 32 or 64-bit option, then an 8 gig USB stick should be enough. Here I'm using this 32 gig Sony USB 3.1, and yes, if you can get a USB 3.1 or 3.0, it could save you a bit of time during the disk creation and also when you use it to install Windows on other computers compared to the USB 2.0. So here I will select both for the architecture and hit next to proceed with the process. On this page, it gives me the option of either using a USB flash drive or creating an ISO file which will later be burnt to a DVD. So I will leave it as a USB flash drive and hit next. Then select the USB flash drive you want to use. You can easily go back to your computer folder to confirm the volume label of the USB drive to ensure you select the right drive. Then hit next to start the download and media creation process for Windows 10. This stage will take a while depending on the speed of your internet connection, the processing power of your PC, and of course the speed of your USB stick. Some USB sticks are faster than others, especially when you compare the 2.0 to 3.1 or 3.0. If you have any of the latter, do use it. 2.0 will also work fine, just that it might take a bit more time during the disk creation process and also when you use it to install Windows on some other PC. In any case, this process will take a while, 15 to 20 minutes on average. Yours could take more or less time depending on the factors I just mentioned. However, you can keep working on your laptop during this process. I'm going to fast forward this part of the video. Now we've successfully completed the media creation process for Windows 10 installation. You should have this page saying your USB flash drive is now ready. You can also go to your computer folder to verify that your USB now has the installation files and is configured as bootable. You should have files like this in your flash drive. So now we are ready to install Windows 10 offline using this USB flash drive. The second method is to use a third-party application to create your Windows 10 bootable USB. Here I'll be using Rufus, but before downloading and running Rufus, you need to have your Windows 10 ISO file saved somewhere on your computer. If you are yet to download the Windows 10 ISO file, the procedure is pretty similar to the first method we just saw. So from Microsoft page, you download the media creation tool and run by double-clicking. Here select Create Installation Media for another PC and click Next. On this page, select the language, architecture and edition of Windows 10 you wish to have and hit Next. On the page that follows, it gives you the option of either using a USB flash drive or creating an ISO file which you will later bend to a DVD. So here simply select the ISO file option and hit Next. Then select the location where you want to save your ISO file and hit Save. Then wait for the download and media creation process to complete. Again, I will fast forward this part of the video. Afterwards, you should see a page like this showing the location where your ISO file was saved. And if you go to that location, you should find a file like this called windows.iso. Now that we have the ISO file, I'll go ahead and download Rufus. For that, simply go to Google and search Rufus. And then click on the first result from rufus.ie. It should bring you to this download page. I will leave a direct link to this page down in the video description. Here, scroll down to where it says download and click on the last update version. Now it's version 3.8. Depending on when you are watching this video, it could be a different version. So I will click on that. It's just about 1 megabyte in size. Now after downloading, insert your USB stick and double click on the Rufus installation file to run it. Hit yes on the user account control. You should have an interface like this pop up. Here, first select the USB device you want to use in case you have multiple USB devices attached. Then on the boot selection field, use the drop down to select disk or ISO image. Then click on this select button to the right and locate the ISO file you have saved. Mine is on the desktop, so I will select that. And here you need to select a partition scheme for the disk where you intend to install Windows. The two options here are MBR and GPT. GPT is the newer scheme meant to replace MBR with some improved features. Now, if you intend to use the USB to install Windows on a formatted laptop or PC with no disk partitions, then you should use the GPT option. During the installation, it will automatically convert your disk to GPT. However, if you want to use the USB to upgrade from a previous version of Windows, then you may want to check the partition format of the disk. For Windows 10, simply go to your search and type disk partition. Then click on create and format this partition from the search results. Here, right-click on Disk 0 where you intend to install the Windows and select Properties. Click on Volumes. And then you should see the partition style of your disk. Here mine is MBR, yours could be GPT, in which case you should select GPT. So for my case, with MBR selected, I'll click on Start. It then informs me that all the data on the USB stick will be deleted during the process. Here, ensure you've backed up all the files on your USB stick. Then hit OK and wait for the process to complete. When completed, it should say ready here, and then you can close Rufus and eject your USB drive. And with that, you have a Windows 10 bootable USB drive ready to install Windows on other computers. And that is it for this tutorial. Hope one of this was able to help you out. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it useful.
Okay, so I imagine a lot of you kind of knew some of that, but nowadays laptops and things like that no longer have DVD drives. That's definitely something you do need to know, because a lot of times, as you saw in the demo, we end up going to Microsoft, downloading the operating system as an ISO file, and then we need to either burn it to a DVD, or we need to put it on a flash drive and make it bootable. So if you have a DVD already, do you guys know how to convert to an ISO?
Power ISO? I don't know.
Yeah, there are tools like that. I used one called Image Burn, which I think is easy to use. You just select the DVD, and then it gives you an option to convert it to an ISO file.
Do they still have Damien tools?
Oh, that
Damien
gave me a
tools?
virus back in the day.
Yeah, I have not used Damon tools in years because I used to. Now we use Virtual Clone Drive instead. But yeah, Damon tools used to be the popular thing to mount ISOs at one time. But I found later on, yeah, they put so many different spam things in it eventually that it just became annoying to use. They ruined it. But yeah, I'm glad some of you remember Damon tools.
I wonder if Disk Juggler also you can do that with.
Yeah, there's probably a number of third-party ones. We all have our favorites, like
How about Partition Magic?
Partition Magic. I haven't used that.
I used to use that a lot.
Yeah, but the thing now is that's built into Windows, the partitioning. That was back in days of Windows 95.
Exactly. That's what I say. I used to use that one.
Right, exactly. I love
I was
partition.
getting nostalgic on you.
Yeah, and no, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, partition Magic. Yeah, we take it for granted these days where we can go into disk management and change the partition size. We can shrink them and grow them and things like that. That used to be done in the old days of 98. You had to buy in order to do that.
Now, Derek mentioned Magic. Wasn't there, I could be wrong, a Magic ISO software?
Yeah, Magic ISO as well. That would be for mounting ISOs and doing things with ISOs. Probably creating ISOs like Image Burn. Yeah, so there's Power ISO, Magic ISO. There's been a number of, but Partition Magic was for, oh, Richie's calling me. Make him wait. Yeah, Partition Magic was for resizing partitions. Power ISO and Magic ISO were for mounting ISOs, and I think creating ISOs and things like that. So after the break, I'll do a quick demo on using a third-party program to create a bootable flash drive, and then I'll go into something that I think is kind of interesting that probably you guys probably don't know how to do at the moment, is how to share share files with a virtual operating system inside a VirtualBox. So for example, we download the ISO of Office 2016. How do we then copy it into our virtual machine? So we'll go over that.
So I came across this the other day. I don't, maybe I'm doing something different, but God, what did I do? I'm blanking. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So we will stop for a break. I got to call Richie back. So it's a good time to let's get back at 11:10. Okay. And I'll see what he wants. Okay.
You think you could restart your computer?
You want me to restart mine?
Yeah, it seems like I don't know about others. There's image and audio quality that's not so good.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay. All right, we'll see you in about 14 minutes. Okay. So take a break, and we'll see you then.